On and mess up. Terry Jones.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Jones. I'm from Homer Glen, and I work in the crisis pregnancy industry, and I feel like I have some insight that I would like to share with you. And the first thing I want to say is, us pro-lifers are merciful and compassionate and loving to all women. We counsel post-abortive women at my place of work, and I want to tell you, they are in crisis. They need mercy and compassion, and they need to heal. So we are not judging them. We are not judging what has happened to them. Over 90% of them tell us they didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. They didn't know there was other people there to support them. We are there to support them. And I want to be clear. I know that woman who spoke earlier was very passionate, and I wish she was here because I would love to invite her to our center and talk to the counselors about what the clients are telling us when they come back for post-abortive counseling. And when they come to us, we do not facilitate or refer for abortions. We do not perform abortions at our clinic, but it's legal in Illinois. And if they go have one, we welcome them back for counseling, because the people who perform the abortion never tell them about what's going to happen afterwards. Hearing babies cry in the night, the depression, cancer sometimes, infertility, and they struggle with this. And it might not be the next day or the next week. But we've had women come 7 years later, 10 years later, 30 years later to tell us how that moment, that day where they were so desperate that they felt abortion was the only choice they had, has weaved into the tragedy of many things for the rest of their life. There is a ripple effect in our society. And I do have to address when she said these afterbirth abortions don't take place. They do take place. They're taking place right now in our state. I can verify they are. And this is what happens. And just because I think ignorance is not an excuse to be complicit with something, I'm going to let you know this is what happens, and this is what is happening. I'm not being dramatic or making anything up. So women in late term or second term, if they decide that they want to have an abortion or someone tells them that there's a health risk, first of all, most doctors will tell you what should happen is an immediate C-section. An immediate C-section will save the woman whose health is at risk, and they will try and save the baby. That's what should happen. Sometimes what happens is these abortions, these late-term abortions, do not take place just over a few minutes. These are days. They have to have something put inside of them to soften their cervix. It's a seaweed compound. It happens over a few days. It's not pleasant. It's painful. They start having contractions, and then if the baby slips out, it's alive. There are mothers who have seen their babies put in plastic bags in Illinois and suffocated. Now this woman who thought this is what she wanted has to live the rest of her life with that vision. And it's not just this woman. It's the doctor, it's the nurse, it's the assistant, it's the person who took the garbage out. There is a ripple effect to this awful thing that is happening. Please don't think it's not, and now that it's legal, it's going to continue to happen. If the baby is further along, towards 9 months, and the shot through the belly into the baby's heart didn't kill the baby, because once in a while it doesn't, and the baby slips out, and it's alive, and it's sitting there. It's awful. It's awful for everyone involved. It's awful for the mother who thought this was the right idea, and if her life was in jeopardy, that is sad, and a decision has to be made. But the right decision is an immediate C-section. Now, if the doctor tells the mother that your child is severely deformed or going to be handicapped or something to that effect. Again, sometimes the C-section is a good way that the baby does not have to go through the process of labor, which, like a spina bifida child, that would hurt the spine more. But the other thing is, so if a C-section wouldn't help, why doesn't that child deserve to have a few minutes of love for the short time that they're alive on this earth? And what no one talks about in the media are, there are wonderful organizations of families waiting to adopt children with disabilities and handicaps. There are families waiting. So if a mother feels like it's just too much for her to bear, the severely deformed child, there are families there. But we also need to think that child may live for a few minutes, and why wouldn't that child deserve love instead of being dismembered? So let's think about the ripple effect of all the people involved. Let's show mercy and compassion towards the women who feel like this is their only choice. And if you are pro-choice, how about supporting the women who choose to keep their baby, and those centers like my own who support them with diapers and rent and electric, and we help them with cribs and height chairs and things like that. We don't talk about helping. If you want to help women, help all the women. There are women choosing to keep their baby who also need support. And think about the ripple effect. The dismemberment, because if it doesn't slip out, the baby is dismembered. And someone has to count those body parts in the back room. And the incidence of alcoholism, divorce, suicide, and depression for those people is very high. So this does affect us as a society. It affects all of us. Because you may know someone who has had that experience and who hasn't said anything. So let's try and remember that this is happening. And now that you know what happens, being complicit in it isn't right. And just because our state has this law, our state doesn't get it right a lot of the time. We are hurting women. The women who come to us for post-abortive counseling are hurting, and they need healing, and they need mercy, and they need compassion. We are not judging them. The situations they were in are rough. I'm not going to lie. They're rough situations. But when they have an abortion, this affects the rest of their life. So this very temporary fix has very long-term effects.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about taking.
Very